Hi, it's Anna Marika Gerritsen, call me AMG, and welcome to episode 6 of the Endometriosis Nutritionist TV. And today I want to talk about a supplement that has a terrible name to pronounce, but is a really promising supplement for managing, especially pain in endometriosis. And in fact, it's not about managing pain, it's actually about reducing pain in the long run. So let me try and pronounce it. I'm going to pronounce it once, and then I'm going to use its shortened name. So it's palmitoylethanolamide, or PEA. It's an interesting compound because it is something that our bodies produce when it's needed, and it helps to regulate pain and inflammation. It's found in both the central nervous system and in immune cells. And it's also in many foods, but in order for it to do what it needs to do for somebody like you who has chronic inflammation and chronic pain, you'd have to eat enormous amount of foods like beans and peas and tomatoes and alfalfa and corn and peanuts. So you'd have to really eat ridiculous amounts of those. So really, to get the benefit of it, for you to really see a consistent improvement, you'd have to take a supplement. So the reason I'm so excited about this, and I only learned about this supplement, although it's been around for a long time, but in relation to endometriosis, I only learned about it fairly recently. And normally I don't jump to supplements very quickly. I'd like to address diet first, but one of the good things about PEA is that it's actually been studied on women with endometriosis, whereas a lot of the supplements and a lot of extra things that we can give you have been studied on inflammation or on pregnancy and fertility, but not necessarily directly on women with endometriosis, and PEA has. So that is very exciting, and the results are really, really interesting. So what does PEA do? So PEA is something that is found in our body, as I said, and what happens is when your immune system is activated, certain cells are stimulated to start the inflammatory process, and we've talked about the inflammatory process. It's at the core of your endometriosis and the spread and the growth and all the symptoms related to it. Now, inflammation involves both swelling and pain. And pain has a purpose. So when you get injured, so you have a cut on your hand, then the pain, the purpose of that is to make you stop and make you do something about it, so that you don't continue doing what you were doing that caused the injury. So the pain is a messaging, has a messaging purpose, and a purpose to make you go, oh, hang on, what's going on, and remove yourself from whatever is hurting you. So when that pain has been initiated, then the body releases PEA to regulate the cells that could produce the pain and the swelling. So over time then the PEA starts to work and the inflammation disappears with the pain as well, which is great for acute inflammation, right, when you have a wound. But with endometriosis, you don't have acute inflammation, you have chronic inflammation, which means there is no resolution. It doesn't disappear, and so even the smallest immune incident can cause a really out of proportion immune response, and the cells responsible for clearing it up are confused, and so they're creating this constant pain to warn you to do something about it. And this is where your constant pain comes from, these cells going, do something, do something, do something. Of course, you can't. But the good thing about PEA is that it calms down these cells. It, even taken as a supplement, will start to regulate that and start to go, okay, time to calm down. Now, another reason that you have chronic pain is that there have been nerve cells have been damaged. The inflammation, and you have chronic inflammation and systemic, so it is in a lot of places. And so the inflammation that comes with that will have irritated and damaged nerve cells. And nerve cells have a pain memory. You would think that if you have constant pain, that at some point you would get used to it, and so your pain threshold goes up. Whereas in fact, because the endometriosis is been damaging nerve cells, your pain threshold has gone down. So you have a lower pain threshold, which means that and this is something that I hear all the time, and people working with women with endometriosis also hear all the time, is the amount of pain that you experience is not necessarily in proportion with the amount of endometriosis that you have, or even with where it is. And that is because the nerve cells are damaged and they are constantly firing. They're constantly sending pain messages. So PEA also regulates the firing of these nerve cells. And, which is a third really great thing that PEA can do, is it produces anti-inflammatory compounds and compounds that protect nerve cells. So it starts to heal nerve cells and it starts to reduce inflammation. And as you might have guessed by now, after a number of these episodes, we really need to reduce your inflammation, because that is at the basis of the endometrial tissue spreading and growing and doing a lot of damage in the process. Plus that the PEA is protecting and healing nerve cells, which is why it's so good with pain. So just a few of the studies that have been done with PEA with women with endometriosis. So around chronic pelvic pain, in one study, 56 women took PEA for 9 months, and after 6 months, their pain had improved significantly. So that was 6 months of PEA supplements. In another study, pain was starting to be reduced after just 90 days, and most of the women in that study had stopped taking pain medication. As well as in that study, they also started to see that there was some reduction in the lesions, the size of the lesions of endometrial tissue. So that's really promising. An anti-inflammatory diet will reduce your pain over time, but if it can be supported by something that also reduces pain, not just by masking it, which is what normal painkillers do, but by repairing the nerve cells, that is a really great supplement, I would say. The second thing that has been studied is around leaky gut, and I'm going to talk about leaky gut in the next episode. But we know that women with endometriosis tend to have leaky gut. Most of you do. And so what we've seen is that this was in a lab study. So they take some gut tissue and they do something with a solution of PEA, and that started to reduce the permeability of the gut. And that means that it heals leaky gut. The other thing, a lot of you have migraines, right? And in one study, so this was not women with endometriosis, but this was women just in general, people who had migraines. A group of 50 patients took PEA. And one of the good things about this as a supplement is it doesn't interfere with any medication you take. So in this study, people were suggested just continue using whatever medication you take. And they were able to reduce the number of days per month with a migraine from an average of 10.7 days to 5.8. So that almost halved the number of days with a migraine. And it also reduced the intensity of the migraine by 71%. Now, I get migraines on occasion. I don't get them really badly, but I know that when I get them, if that could reduce the intensity of them by about 75%, I'd be happy with about 30%. But 71% is a major reduction. It allows you to function properly. And they compared it with a control group of people who just took their normal medication, and they saw absolutely no improvement. And other studies saw improvements also with migraines with auras and chronic migraines. So if you have migraines as you've taken it as one, that's just one of my endometriosis symptoms, there is something that can improve that. I know that some of you also experience depression, and depression and endometriosis go together, unfortunately. One, because it can be really, having pain all the time and not being able to take part in life can create depression. But there's also something between your microbiome and your brain. But in one study, 58 patients with severe depression took PEA, and they saw an improvement after just 2 weeks. And after 6 weeks, everyone in that study had improved by at least 50%. And I think if you can reduce depression, you will be able to, it will be easier to take control of your diet. I know that when you're depressed, I know that from my own experience, when at times when I had not severe, but I had depression, you just, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to work out. You don't want to leave the house. You don't want to eat. You don't want to, it just, everything feels impossible to do. So if you can reduce depression, that can help you take other measures as well. And in a final study, which is not related to endometriosis at all, but I know that women with endometriosis, because your immune system is not functioning optimally, most women notice that they get every cold that comes past, every flu that comes past, and it takes them longer to get over. In a group of in total 4,000 people who took PEA for 12 days when they had either fever or pain as part of cold or flu, saw that fever and pain reduced by 45% compared to people who didn't take it. So it can reduce the amount of sick days, and it can reduce the length of the period, and also the severity. So it's and in fact I went to a training session on PEA a few weeks ago, and the trainer shared with us that she at some point had this sudden felt the flu coming on. You know how flu, you can sort of go, one moment you go, I'm okay, and then next you go, oh my gosh, I'm really unwell. And she had an important presentation to do the next day, or a family event or something. And she thought, oh, well, I was just gonna, they've told me that this PEA stuff is good for colds and flu. So she just took enormous amounts of it over a 12-hour period. And she woke up and the fever had broken the next day. And she was a bit wobbly, but the flu was gone. So that was just one person. But it has been shown in a large study. So really, I feel even if you're not really keen on taking supplements, but if you have really a lot of pain, if you have migraines and or you have depression, I really recommend you consider using PEA. In conjunction with a diet, an inflammatory diet, I think you will see improvement twice as fast as if you just do your diet. And I know an inflammatory diet for most of you will show great results. But I also know that some of these symptoms can be harder to see results on. So it really, and the good thing is it's not a medication. It's not something that has side effects. They haven't found any side effects. It is something your body naturally makes. That means it also has a mechanism for regulating the amounts that are in your body, and it will not use more than it needs, but it needs a whole heap of it at the moment because of your chronic pain and your chronic inflammation. So if you're thinking about using PEA and giving it a go, I want to warn you though about where you buy it. You can get PEA at the chemist or maybe at the supermarket, probably not, but definitely at the chemist, and it will be called pure PEA, which sounds great, but it's not, because pure PEA is unprocessed PEA, and usually I'm all in favor of unprocessed, but what that means is that the molecules are still large, and they need to be, when your body produces PEA, it actually is, the molecules are very small, and it doesn't actually have to go through your gut into your bloodstream. Whereas when you take a supplement, your body needs to process it and take it down to the level that it can go through your gut wall into your bloodstream, and then it can do what it needs to do. Pure PEA, the molecules are too large, they will not be absorbed. So you're taking PEA, which is, you're basically pooping out most of it again. So I really suggest you do not buy anything that's called pure PEA. You need to have micronized or ultra micronized PEA, so that those particles are really, really small. And unfortunately, the only place you can get that is from a practitioner. So either a nutritionist like me or a naturopath. So if this is something that you're considering, feel free to contact me or find a nutritionist or a naturopath. Talk about PEA. Talk about, there's a post on my website, a blog post. You want to take that and discuss it with them in terms of how it can benefit your endometriosis, or get in touch and we'll work something out. But it's definitely one that I highly recommend that you try to start definitely reducing your pain and healing your gut, which is what we're going to talk about in episode 7. So that's it for me, and I'll see you in next week's episode. Bye for now.